Good evening, everyone. Um, First thing we would like to ask Mr. Neela to come and place in seat five. He is our first alternate for planning and zoning. I call this meeting to order. The planning and zoning at 6:38. We do have a quorum that is present. Um, we will start with public comments, non-agenda items, public comments, and white card comments will be taken from the audience. Non-agenda related topics for the length of time not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Agenda items, public comments, yellow cards. Comments will not be taken from the audience on non agenda and agenda items combined for the length of time not to exceed 5 minutes total per when the item comes before the board, commission, or committee and not to exceed 2 minutes per person. Not action No action or discussion may be taken by the board, commission, or committee during public comments on non-agenda items. To address the board, to address the commission, board, or committee, please complete the white or yellow cards and present them to the city staff designed prior to the meeting. I do have one non-agenda item, Ms. Kate Forsyth. Your time's up, Ms. Forsyth. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have one more, Mr. Robert Bataille.
Thank you, sir. Um, and if you don't mind telling me when 3 minutes is up, and I'll address it. My name's Robert Bataille. Um, the amended rules are utterly asinine. The fact that I would like to speak on almost every single item on this agenda and I get 2 minutes, that's ridiculous. Okay, you guys are a commission. You actually can do a lot of things, except that you've been beaten down for like 10 years by someone here. I would like you to stand up today and do something very important for our community. I have sent a police report because there are graves beside the cemetery. I've sent all of you this picture here. This shows Dan Scarborough, a previous city council member, looking at a grave just outside the Manor Cemetery. I also sent this to the police department, along with this map showing this parcel here. This is the Martin McVeigh parcel from 1906. And I've also sent the police department a copy of the registry from the Travis County office saying that that lot was bought by Martin McVeigh for a cemetery lot. Now, these people call themselves detectives. And they can't figure out. I've also sent them where the laws are and what the numbers of the laws, and they still can't do a dang thing. There is no reason that you guys cannot halt this development and require a ground penetrating radar thorough investigation of that area to the west, 300 feet to the west of the cemetery. Our city council has borrowed $250 million. So I think they can afford $2,000 for a ground penetrating radar for 2 or 3 days. We not only need to check there, we need to check by the homestead over here that James Manor discovered back that he set up in 1850s. That's behind the Lions Club. We need to, I bet there's graves over there. I'll bet you $100 there's graves over there. James Manor's the one that gave the cemetery to the city. And we don't need to deface it. And you guys, I'd like one of you tonight to make a motion to require ground penetrating radar before any development is done whatsoever on that parcel, and then put it to a vote. You guys can do that. You know, you don't need Scott Dunlap's permission. Why we have 20 things on the agenda in one evening? I would have sent them back. This to me is like obvious. And for people like the city council, I'm not into my other 2 minutes, am I? Feels like the city council, they'll pass a proclamation about Black history. That was the Black Cemetery from 1906 until 2004. The Manor Cemetery was not integrated, believe it or not, until 2004.
2 minutes, Mr. Bataille.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about some of these other things, but let me go back to item 19. I know this is confusing for you people, but in our codes since 2017, Old Manor is a historic district. And that includes all the lots that's being talked about here on Lexington. Every lot in town is 50 foot by 115 feet long. That's the way Mr. Manor designed it for a town. We don't want those combined into one giant lot so you can put some high-use multi-density BS that these planning commissioners want. We need to get rid of that comprehensive plan and get back to some sensible governance. I'm really scared of the fact that our city council has so much money that they can destroy Old Manor. For though I've never yet once met one person that's ever heard of the comprehensive plan. The mayor has said he read most of it. And this is what Scott Dunlap is using to destroy Old Manor. These things called dashboards are utterly preposterous. Nobody was surveyed about whether they want high-density multi-use on Lexington. And we don't want them spending $1.5 million to put little planter boxes there. The planners, we got to rein them in. Thank you.
All right. We will move to public hearing number 1. Conduct conduct a public hearing on preliminary plat for the New Haven subdivision 293 on 90.3 acres more or less, and being located at Great Lane and FM 973 Maynard, Texas. We have Mr. Bataille.
Thank you, sir. My name's Robert Bataille. I don't know if the developer is here. I have kind of the same questions for all these developments. And I would like to point out that Rachel Sotal once upon a time said that she was going to give us over $150,000 for our park fees. And then Scott Dunlop changed the regs, and now they've decided that a long, long trail is a park. Mandy, are you able to pull up the plat thing at all? I would like to know basically on these things is, these people have to jump through hoops to get their subdivision approved. I'd like to know what number hoop are we on, or step if you prefer the word, and how many steps are there till this thing gets into action? It seems like it takes 8 to 15 steps. We never know where we are. The maps, I guess we don't have a chance to look at them. The maps, every time they get more and more vague. They don't show the park. They don't show the trails. They don't show the parking for the trails. So I'd like to know why she reneged on that money. How much parkland fees are they going to put, and how much actual park? And I don't mean a trail. I mean a real parkland park. Okay? And since this is a public hearing, I can wait for answers. That's what public hearing is about. It's so the public can hear some answers. It's not so the public can hear your answers or your questions. You know what I mean? So I would like to know, how much parkland fees are they going to pay? And what stage are we in this whole process before they can start turning the shovel? Thank you. Also, I'd like to mention, if the developers don't even have the courage to show up, I think that the item should be postponed. They could show up by virtual, or they could show up in person. This is part of their strategy to not have to answer questions.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Travis Janik. I'm with Ashton Gray Development.
Hold on one second. Ms. Bataille, you can have a seat, Ms. Bataille.
Okay, thanks.
I am the developer on the New Haven property that this topic's about. As far as what step we're on, I think we're probably I don't know, about halfway, and I think you could definitely thank Mr. Dunlop. I think he's done a good job of getting as much out of us as he could. But I know we do have a trail. It's supposed to interconnect, and we are going to do a smaller pocket park and a bigger central park. I do not have those numbers memorized. I don't know if.
Yeah, I think the first park is less than an acre, and I believe the second park is.
Can you step up to the podium, please?
Yeah. My name is John Alvarez. I'm with Quiddity Engineering. I'm the engineer of record on the project. So Travis mentioned 2 parks. I want to say the first park, the pocket park, is about a little less than an acre, about 0.7 acres. And I want to say the second park is around 2.5 or 3 acres, if that's correct. And then in addition to the trail, there's a nature reserve area that'll be, I believe that area is closer to 15 or 20 acres. Be great if we had the visual, but those are the facilities. So.
And then I do believe we are paying a per lot park fee on top of these parks also, I believe. I don't have it memorized, but it's in the $200 to $500 range. And, we have 293 lots, and I believe we'll be paying that as we plat the subdivision. So happy to answer any other questions if you have them. I believe it's somewhere in the range of two to.
Sir, you don't have. You just address us. You don't have to address him.
Okay.
No.
So yeah, it's in the couple $100 or few $100 per lot range. So on top of providing parkland and some trail interconnectivity, we are also paying a park fee for y'all to use however you see fit.
We have any questions? Scott.
Sure, so if I may add, so this is the public hearing. But when we get to the action item, you may see that in the recommendation was to postpone, but there was a question about an easement that the city that we were requesting. There's an adjacent property that we wanted to make sure had adequate wastewater service, and so we requested a wastewater easement, and that easement is still being looked at by our engineers just to make sure that it will function. And so we are recommending when we get to the action item that you can move forward, but that the approval is subject to a final easement being approved by our city engineer. But that's all. But if you have other questions for me or for the developer, feel free to ask.
Can we ask them now, or do we need to wait until the item?
You can now works.
So typically in the past, we've wanted renderings on stuff to help us kind of get a visual of how things might look. It is challenging to envision the park and what you want it to look like without any visual help. So typically in the past, we have postponed other people and said, bring us renderings before we could vote on things. So since it's going to be postponed anyway, maybe you guys could come to the next meeting with some more specific drawings of what you're envisioning for the parks and kind of the plan. You're going to have to do that anyway. So maybe this gives you a month to put something together that we could visualize about that.
Yeah, and to this point, we have presented throughout the approval process some 2D renderings with details. We had to do a PUD, and that was approved by council. And in there lists out exactly what specific items are going to be in our park, along with an exhibit that shows the 2D version of it. And if a 3D rendering is something that needs to be done, we can look into it. But we are here hoping to get conditional approval pending the easement that we are more than willing to give up and work through. We understand the city's point 100%. If you want to add another condition to that, saying that maybe we send out some renderings, that's fine too.
Yeah, I think sometimes the city sees more than we do.
Mm-hmm.
In our committee or commission. So it can be useful for us to visualize stuff like that.
And was I don't know, if, to my knowledge, is the 2D colored exhibit in the agenda packet for them?
It's not in this. So this is the preliminary plat, and those types of renderings aren't required on a preliminary plat, which is why it's not in the backup. That was part of the PUD, and so when the PUD was approved by the commission and the council, there were diagrams of the park and all that.
Are these the ones from Rachel?
No.
Okay, this is separate.
Yes. This was the one, if you may recall, there was a request for the parking. So one of the lots was turned into a parking lot, and there was additional parking spaces added to that. And then, as been discussed before, the parks that were being provided didn't, meet our requirements for parks specifically. So there was the requirement that they have to pay the parkland fee in lieu, in addition to providing certain park amenities, even though they didn't meet the code specifically.
Are there going to be any amenities in the park, or is it just going to be a park with like playground or something?
Yes, it'll be a park with a playground with play structures. I don't have it memorized right now, but there's going to be multiple play structures and activity structures, and I think the trail will be amenitized with like exercise equipment and benches. Unfortunately for us, typically we're used to doing as a developer, we're used to doing bigger parks, but unfortunately our site on this one is only about 93 acres, or 90 acres, so we just didn't have the room we would want, which is why we're doing our best to get to y'all's requirements, and then also paying a fee in lieu to make y'all whole on what y'all would normally want.
Okay. Yeah, I think just, obviously whatever you can to show this is the land that we have. A swing set's going to go here. This other thing might go there, some sort of layout so that we can get an idea, because obviously every park is not going to be the same. And the Okra Park is going to have, I think, a lot of like dog park and some, and it's really close by to this.
And I know our trail system and our park system is tying into the Monarch and then the Okra to the south. We're working with them.
Yeah, I think just if you came with something so that we could visualize like what this land is going to look like, that would be helpful.
Okay.
So also, it is subdivision, so it's non-discretionary. So it's approve, deny, approve with conditions.
Right.
We could postpone if you did want. We could provide the PUD.
You are recommending that to do.
It had been, but in discussing with legal, the recommendation was to approve with the condition that that it's subject to a final easement being approved by the city engineer.
Just wanted to make a statement that in the past meetings we've had on this, one of my objections, not only to this project, but to others, are where parks are placed behind subdivision lots, which in my opinion makes them subject to criminal activity, because they're screened away from the street. So just making my statement.
Any other questions?
I make the motion that we postpone postpone till.
I think it's
January
just
10th.
close the
Just
public
close it.
hearing
Just close
for
it.
this one, and then when it comes back again, right?
I'll move that we'll close the public hearing.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Meyer to close public hearing number 1, second by Ms. Julie Leonard. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing number 2. Conduct a public hearing on a subdivision preliminary plat for Ginzel Tract, 5 lots on 84.31 acres, more or less, and being located at 13301 East US Highway 290, Maynard, Texas. We do have Mr. Robert Bataille.
Thank you. My name's Robert Bataille. And my apologies to Rachel. That was the Okra development. This one here, or the one that just passed by, that was the one for the 2 ping pong tables that they committed to. And these people, that was the most abysmal performance by a developer I can possibly imagine. And here we are. Can we see the site map for this one? And why can't they bring the site map every dang time they show up here? It's because they want to confuse you. Okay, can we see a close up, please? Yeah, the one with the houses. That's the one I want. Where's the park? Where's the access to the park? How much money are they going to put into our park system? And again, on this, the fact that we're so confused here tells me one thing, that the training that you guys have is really very minimal. And that says to Scott Dunlap, he needs to put together an instruction manual so that when new people come in here, they know what the process is and the people know what it is too. And we also know when is something discretionary, when is it non-discretionary. Is that too much to ask for? I wonder. Okay, so I want to ask the developer again, what step in the process are we? How much money you're putting into the parks? And where's the access to the parks, please? And we should have it. You guys should all have a checklist and ask these questions every time someone comes up here to get a subdivision approved.
All right, that was the last comment we have for this one. Mr. Scott.
You could be seated.
Am I going to get some answers?
You can sit down.
Can I get my?
You got 2 options: sit down, or we can have you leave.
Okay.
Sure. So this is a 5-lot mixed-use subdivision. The front of it, about 30 acres, is zoned C2, medium commercial, and then the back portion, 20 acres, is zoned multifamily, MF2, and then about 30 acres is townhome, TH. So this includes also extending Carriage Hills Drive up to 290 at the intersection with Bodark, and then another primary collector that goes over towards Viking Jack, which is in the Manor Commercial Park. In terms of the parkland, with the zoning, at least this time, like they don't have to dedicate parkland, because with townhome, unless they come back, if they sell it to a townhome developer and they want to further subdivide it into individual lots, there isn't. It's the same like with multifamily. They dedicate private open space, but they both have to pay parkland fees in lieu into our park fund. So there isn't any parkland that's dedicated on the property, because it's all private open space, unless again the townhome one, if that developer, whomever it may be, there isn't anything at this time, wants to build public streets and do that type of route. But in a common lot development for townhome and multifamily, they have to dedicate I think it's 1 acre per 150 dwelling units, and then provide funding into the city's park fund, as well as park development fees that we have now. So I think it's $700 per dwelling unit is the new fee for the park fund. And then the park development fee is contingent upon how many amenities they provide in their property. So it starts at 600 and it goes down to 0, depending on the number of amenities.
And I'm sorry, commissioners, we do have AC Stedman, is that correct? They are here. They did not wish to make a comment, but they are here for questions, if you guys have any.
So part of the money, the fees in lieu, is there any contemplation on reusing that money to invest in that particular area, or is just adding to the park fund?
There isn't plans right now. I mean, that's up to the Parks Committee and the City Council. they determine how those funds are spent and when and where. But it's not specifically allocated to any project when we receive it. We have just a general fund for our park funds. The new parkland ordinance does speak to that those funds should be spent. I think it's within 10 years. So we sort of have put that obligation on ourselves now to spend that money as we receive it. But yeah, the Parks Committee, they have determinations, and like again, Budget Committee gets worked into that, and it's the City Council decisions.
Is there any plan in place currently to utilize that funds?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not fully into those discussions. I think at Timmerman Park, I think they're planning some amenities, but that's not. I'm not part of the Parks Committee specifically. And yeah, apologize.
I move to close the public hearing on agenda item number 2.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Leonard to close public hearing number 2. A second by Commissioner Myers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion closed. Public hearing number 3. Conduct a public hearing on the subdivision short form final plat for the Junction subdivision, 1 lot on 9.2 acres, more or less, and being located at the intersection of LaGrange Street and Murray Avenue at Maynard, Texas. I do have Mr. Robert Bataille.
Thank you, sir. My name's Robert Bataille. Can we pull up this site map, please? Here again, these are the people that are putting townhomes on top of grave sites beside the cemetery. They want to put this lot, I take it what's happening here is they want to turn this lot on the upper left into 1 lot. Is that what's happening? Okay. There's nothing historic about that. What's historic is what we're looking at right here. And I would say, no, we do not want high density multi-use anything in Old Manor. Old Manor, I call it. Old Manor runs from 290 down to the railroad tracks, from the creek to Shining Creek. And we don't want multi-use high density there. We do not want to combine any of these lots so they can put some big giant box. This should be tiny single residences. The fact that the council sold out our right-of-ways, the alleys and the culverts, they sold out the cemetery for $318,000. Now, this is your chance, once again, for one of you to stand up and say, we need everything stopped until we do a GPR, ground penetrating radar, to determine whether or not there are bodies there. The fact that you would let this developer build next to a cemetery without doing that is utter stupidity. I mean, seriously, you're next to a cemetery and you don't even check to see if there's bodies there? That's your history, folks. You guys are trying to turn Old Manor, quaint little Old Manor, into downtown 6th Street, Austin. That shows how stupid these freaking planners are. They have no idea. The only thing we have in this city that's worth anything is the history. Other than that, we are one subdivision. The idea that we can't even put in a dog run with our park funds in 10 years. We have over $1 million. We have like $1.4 million we could spend on our stuff. But the city council just is too brain dead to figure it out. The Parks Committee is a total joke. I had a free disc golf course ready to put in 2 years ago, and they couldn't even accept that. They don't even have public meetings. They have secret meetings. They are a quasi governmental body that is not supposed to meet in secret. I told that to the police department. You know what they told me is, I'm not sure. Maybe you need to go talk to the attorney general. Maybe the police department needs to start learning the laws and start enforcing them for the people. This is getting disgusting. Oh, may I say one more thing if I'm able?
You got 10 seconds.
Okay, you guys never told me what step they were in the process of that one. And I'd like to know what step they are in the process of this one too. Thank you. And where's the park money? I don't see any park funds anywhere in this.
All right, Mr. Scott, that was our last comment. Anything on this one?
Sure. This one, the developer has requested a postponement. So you've conducted a public hearing. You can close it, or you can keep this public hearing open if you'd like to have it again at the next meeting. But for information on this one, yes, they are combining some of the lots to create one larger tract. The city council did sell the rights of way and alleys to the developer, so that one larger tract can be created. Townhome zoning, it was approved on June 1st of 2022 for this property. They're developing it as a common lot townhome project, which again has private open space requirements, and they pay the fee in lieu into our park fund. So there's an public park open space on this, and it's only 9.2 acres. Generally, to qualify as parkland, it's supposed to be 5 acres unless it's approved differently, which would be half their project. So for common lot developments for townhomes and multifamily, that's why they pay into the fund, and they dedicate their private open space, which is required to be amenitized. And so, yeah, this property, they do have a site plan that's in. It's pretty far along. It'll probably be approved here in January, February. It's pretty close. But yes, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just one, during the building permit process, if there has been a claim of grave sites, are they required at that time to make some kind of declaration that they don't exist or they do exist?
We'd have to look into that, and that's not been determined. If anything's found while they're working on the project, they have done their site surveys with their companies, and they've their title companies require that they do the research and they have the documents, and they state there's no evidence, there's nothing there. It is their property, they have their rights to develop it. City, we can't require them to do anything beyond what our codes state. So
Scott, I mean, is there? I mean, I know that fence. I mean, it's just being reset. But is there anything like there's a certain distance between a cemetery and anything? I mean, because being here as long as I have, I know they've found different things and other things in that cemetery. Just funeral home digging for another funeral plot. Is there anything that would say you would have to? I mean, like Commissioner Meyer, if they start building and they hit something, or do they have to stop or something?
To your first question, there isn't, at least in our codes, any requirement that they have to be set back anything further than our standard setbacks. And then again, I'm not sure if they find something what our codes don't speak to anything like that. That state codes and requirements, if grave sites were found or anything like that, and that would be an obligation of the property owner and their requirements to file or disclose.
I remember doing a job at a park, and I know if you found so much as a rock, you had to stop construction because of the historical. does this developer, if they find something, I mean, you're telling me that if they don't tell us, they keep going. Is that correct?
I mean, the city, we're only going to know if they tell us, or we don't stand there and monitor every construction site. So it is their obligation, if there's this legal obligation, that if they find anything and they don't disclose it, they leave themselves up to potential litigations or issues down the line. So they've done their research to determine that this is a developable piece of land for them.
Does Manor have a historical society?
There is one, Wayne Schneider. I believe he's the main person for it, but I'm not sure how formal they are. I don't think they've spoken with our council in any formal way. The city, we don't have like a city historical committee like this. Yeah.
Could we get that committee or society, whatever historical society, to look into it? Or is there a way to engage them to like see as an impartial third party that could maybe have more information for the council or whoever?
Those documents have been provided. Those are the ones Mr. Patai has. They came from Mr. Schneider, in part or in whole, which those have been provided to both the council and the developer. So they've all seen them and are aware of them.
If we postpone this, can we have them show up for the next meeting?
Yes, there were reason for postponement was because they weren't able to make this meeting. So
Can we have the historical society person come also?
yeah, we can reach out to them. I can't say they have to be here, but can ask if they want to be.
Just to, spoke to they provided documentation. It'd be interesting to hear about what they provided.
Sure.
But we don't have to. I mean, obviously they're not bound to come, so understand.
Any other questions?
If you would like to have this public hearing at our January meeting, your motion would just be to keep the public hearing open and postpone it until I think it's January 10th is our next meeting.
I'll move that we keep the public hearing open and postpone it until the January 10th meeting.
I second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Myers, a second from Commissioner Leonard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, public hearing number 4. Conduct a public hearing on a subdivision short form final plot for Amir Manor, 2 lots on 62.81 acres, more or less, and being located at the southwest corner of US Highway 290 and Old Kimbrough Road. We have Mr. Patai.
Thank you, sir. My name's Robert Bataille. There is a new group called the Manor Heritage Society that's a nonprofit that's being formed, and they're becoming together. I can try to get one of the Texas Historic Commission members to show up too. Can we see a plat for this one, please? And the last 2 ones, I got no indication whatsoever of what step they were in this entire process, and I have requested that on every single item. Can we see the one with the houses and buildings and stuff? And also, let me just correct one thing. As I understand it, a townhome and an apartment and a multifamily really doesn't make much difference. The in lieu fees are per living unit. That's the way I read the codes. Do we not have anything with streets and buildings and what's going in here? That's it. That's all we get. Is that it? Okay, well, here's another example where these developers aren't telling us diddly squat that they're trying to do. And we're supposed to operate blindly. Is this like the first thing they've ever seen? The second, the 10th, the 20th? We have no idea. What do they want to put here? I guess I don't know if the developer's here, but their stand-in, Mr. Scott Dunlap, can tell us as best he can, I guess. Is any of this commercial?
Ten acres of it.
Pardon me?
10 acres of it is.
Okay, 10-acre commercial is supposed to include a plaza. That's in our codes. Every 10-acre commercial development requires a plaza. Now, some people don't know what a plaza is. Some people think it's a shopping center. A plaza is a town square where people gather. Every great city in Europe has a plaza. We should have about 4 or 5 commercial developments right now, and we should be requiring plazas. And instead, what we're doing is we're just giving a free ride to all these people. How are we going to make a great city if we don't require this stuff? You guys are the ones that are supposed to require it. Okay, I guess it's the commercial stuff on the upper left. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes, it's actually 9 acres.
9 acres. Okay, so then maybe they don't need a plaza. That's what's going to be the fallout. Okay, and how many houses? Do we know how many houses at all? Or townhomes or apartments or?
335.
335. Why isn't that in here? And also, if you don't mind, every time a subdivision comes up, how about you know the number and the dollar value of the parks, approximately, the park fees that are coming up? This one guy says, oh, it's either 200 or 500. That's a difference of like $200,000. So I don't like that flippant attitude. And I'd like to know a pretty dang close figure of how much park funds we're going to have. Also, I would remind you guys that you can require a parkland. Just because they want to pay you money and sell their property, that doesn't mean you have to do that.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott.
Sure. So this is a 2-lot subdivision right at the intersection of Kimbrough and 290. It is just a plat, so that's why there's not more to it. They're just creating these lots. There's a site plan in, which is why we know the townhome portion of it. There's nothing in for the commercial side, but it's all private streets with private development. So again, it falls under to dedicate, I think it's 1 acre for 150 dwelling units of open space that's amenitized, and then they pay into our park fund, which again is at the new rate of $700 per dwelling unit, and then a range of 0 to 600 for our park development fee, based on the number of amenities they're providing. And it is right now it's 335 townhomes. That can fluctuate as they go through their design. So that's why the fees are not set. Like those get paid later on their building permits. But if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
This is where where there used to be a golf shooting range there.
This is on the south side of 290. So that was on the north side, I think.
Did you say there's 2 fees regarding parks?
Yes, with our new parkland ordinance, there's a parkland fee for the actual purchase of land, which for a single family subdivision, a fee in lieu is now it's $50,000 an acre. That's not provided, but for projects like multifamily or townhome that are common lot, it's $700 per dwelling unit, and then we have a park development fee, which is used for the city to actually amenitize those parks that we purchase with parkland funds. And that ranges from $600 if there were no amenities to $0 if they provide a certain number of amenities that qualify. So, if they put a gym in their clubhouse, that doesn't qualify. It's more like dog parks, pools, sports fields, playgrounds, outdoor amenities that if they were in a city park would be considered as an amenity. And so the amount of parkland required to be dedicated was also increased a little bit too. No, I'm sorry. You have to sign up before the meeting begins.
Do they have to do a TIA for this?
Yes, and they have done that. So they are doing improvements on Old Kimbrough. So it's a 2-phase TIA. The majority of the improvements are actually triggered by the commercial because commercial generates more traffic. With their first phase, they're building a center turn lane on Kimbrough, so they're widening it. So they dedicated right away on this. I think 17 feet of right away. And so from Kimbrough to the south of their property line, there'll be a center turn lane. And then once the commercial comes, then they're paying the remainder of their fee in lieu to the city. So we would use that money to improve Kimbrough in the future because there are other amenities or improvements like a right turn lane on 290. And ultimately it's going to be a 4-lane road. And so with other developments in that area like Manor Springs, they're also likely, their TI is still in the process. They'll likely be shown improvements on this road too, and the city would contribute the funding. Their funding mitigation though is only about $330,000. So they're going to build that center turn lane and then provide to the city $330,000. That's for phase 1 and phase 2. So.
And the 4-lane road is Kimbrough eventually?
Correct. Yeah. So on the north side, up into Manor Heights, Carillon development, it's built out like that, and then the south side is would be a continuation of that. That doesn't require us though to improve the intersection at 290 because the turn lane there, that median, is too narrow. So there's actually good improvements on 290 when that comes. So it's a bigger project. But we did meet with TxDOT yesterday regarding this TIA and these improvements and the mitigation plan.
Will it go on to Old Highway 20?
No, the 4-lane section, at least in our thoroughfare plan out, is now curves off and goes into a 260-acre track. It lines up with Parsons, not the Parsons here in town, the other Parsons over there, and it would cross the railroad tracks, and that kind of 4-lane keeps going down towards Lake Manor. So the cross section of existing Old Highway 20, well, at least the east-west portion of it over there by Bell Farms Carriage Hills, that is supposed to be larger, but then that would intersect with this future north-south Kimbrough portion.
But it's not going to be widened. Just this Old Kimbrough is under our purview to widen.
Yes, when we annexed the portion of the road in front of this property, so that way we could work on the mitigations. But yeah, only the portion in front of their property, because with the residential, they needed these center turn lane for their driveways.
Any other questions?
I move to close the public hearing on agenda item number 4.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Tavis, a second by Commissioner Hardeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, public hearing number 5. Conduct a public hearing on a subdivision short form final plat for Maynard Commerce Southwest, 3 lots on 4.74 acres, more or less, and being located at the northwest corner of FM 973 and Ring Drive, Maynard, Texas. We do have one, Mr. Bataille.
Thank you, sir. My name's Robert Bataille. So the last three, have gotten no idea of the count of where they are in the steps. What I'm trying to figure out is how many steps does it take to do this? How many times will I see this again? How many other chances do I have to bring people out to be in favor or against this? So when somebody says to me they're halfway through, that doesn't really help me very well. And let me mention the confusion about this park funds. The reason you guys are so confused is because Scott Dunlap snuck these into a 24-page agenda item with basically no explanation. The changes to these park funds should have been at a town hall meeting or a workshop in which Scott Dunlap came before you and we showed some presentations with 4 or 5 or 10 different developments and how these changes would impact things. That's what we really need to do. And again, we need an instruction manual to tell us how many steps there are. Is this a one that we get a vote on? Is this one we don't? We don't know. Do we have a site map of this at all? And, you know, sometimes it's a final plat. Sometimes it's the first plat. Sometimes we see a site plan, then we get a blank plat. They get worse and worse. They get more and more confusing. Okay, so that's it. Just the 2 parcels on the right side, is that correct? The 2 squares? Okay. Do we have a close-up of what's going in there? Do we know how many, anything? How many homes? How many townhomes? Another thing I'd like to point out, that the ring road there, the center aisle is totally useless. What we should do is have a 2-lane road with parking so that people can use that street down a little further to go to the parks there, Timmerman Park. But anyway, back to the question is, do we have any idea what they're going to do that? Is the developer had the courtesy to show up here? What number is this in the process and how many steps are in the process? How much park fees we're going to get out of this one? You know, the usual questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Scott.
Sure. So this is a commercial subdivision, so there's no parkland. So it's 2 new lots and a replat, so technically 3 lots. But yeah, so they're just creating 2 commercial pad sites and then out of a larger tract, and so that larger tract is that 3rd lot that's being replatted. There aren't any projects filed on these 2 lots yet. This is over on the Walmart side of Ring. So Valvoline is being constructed there now. So there's Bank of America, Valvoline, and then there'll be these 2 lots at the intersection before it gets to Ring.
I think this one makes sense, right? I drive the straight all the way through Ring. I'd use the straight lane all the time, personally. But yeah, these to me make sense. It's all commercial there anyway, and these are going to be more. This is more commercial, right? Or no, this is a subdivision with commercial at the front.
Yeah, the zoning's commercial. It's zone C2.
Oh,
So the lots are to be used commercial.
so nobody will live there. It's more businesses.
Correct. Yeah, there's residential is not permitted in C2 zoning.
I think that makes sense to me.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close public hearing item number 5 by Commissioner Myers, a second by Mr. Chavis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion closed. We're gonna take a short break real quick.
She got sworn in out there, so she could just be. You could just announce her if you'd like to seat her.
Oh, okay. We are going to ask Miss Gabriella, Commissioner Gabriella, to come join us up here.
Is it possible to take a break? Like just a short 5 minute, just quick bio break.
Is there something we need to do, or do we just Scott? If we just do, we have to make a motion or anything?
I mean, you could recess for a minute. Is it to confer or anything like that, or no? Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can.
We're gonna take a short recess, a 5 minute recess. We'll be right back. Thank you.
I know that we this the city position more out. That's what it's there for. But like, so we're just trying to get things out. We dedicated this site. We have our main park here. Yes. That's 60 by 120. Yes. So that's something that we weren't aware of that. Jones more part of it there. Yeah. Somewhere in this. I mean, it's a handful of bikes. It'll be all lit. Right. So oh, so we just have stuff. And this trail, and this will go down Monarch. Generally, like to do more of just 93 acres. And that's right. So, do what we can. Council questions. I'm sure you know more about that.
I call this meeting back to order at 7:46. We are now to the consent agenda items. All of the following items on the consent agendas are considered to be self-explanatory by the P&Z Commission and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless requested by the chair or a commissioner, in which an event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separate. Consent agenda item number 6, consider discussion and possible action to approve the P&Z minutes for October 11th, 2023, P&Z Commission regular meeting, and November 13th, 2023, P&Z Commission regular meeting.
I move to approve consent agenda item number 6.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Davis, a second from Commissioner Myers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to regular agenda item. Consider discussion and possible action and on a preliminary plat for the New Haven subdivision, 293 on 90.3 acres, more or less in being located at Greg Lane and 973 FM 973 Maynard, Texas. And just to remind, we have is it the developer AC Stedman? Oh, okay. This ain't it. All right.
So obviously this one is non-discretionary, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, you can postpone it. We can include in January, the PUD. I can also send it out to you separately, but if you'd like to see it when you make your action, we can do that moving forward also, including zoning and any special things like that that may be associated with these plats. Yes, if you were inclined to approve it, there was a condition that it would subject to the final easement being approved by the city engineer.
I move we postpone agenda item number 7 and ask that some visual items be brought to the next meeting so that we can better understand the parkland that's going to be provided and what is going to be the amenities inside of that park.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Leonard, a second by Commissioner Chavis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to regular agenda item number 8. Consider discussion and possible action on a subdivision preliminary plat for the Ginzel Tract 5 lot on 84.3 acres more or less and being located at 13301 East Highway 290, Maynard, Texas. This one is all right. Just to remind you guys, we do have AC Stedman here for any additional questions.
Will they have to do a TIA as well?
Yes, yeah, they've done that. Is that approved yet? Yes.
And what were the results of that?
Do you recall?
Their road improvements that they're going to have to do.
Just state your name
Yep.
first.
AC Stedman, Kimley Horn. We already have a TIA approved by the city of Maynard and TxDOT. The improvements on top of a mitigation fee that we're paying to TxDOT. I think we're putting a turn lane in, decel lane in to the west of our property. We'll be adding a fourth leg to the intersection for US 290 and Boat Arc. So Carriage Hills Drive will be coming up through the Carriage Hill subdivision. It will be coming all the way as a public road, 74-foot right of way, where it's setting 60 in Carriage Hills. It will be intersecting with 290, so we're putting in a fourth leg to that intersection, and then we'll be also implementing another decel lane, turn lane into the side for a second driveway. And then we'll be also extending Viking Jack. So Carriage Hills and then connect to Viking Jack. And then there's some other, I believe, TIA fee improvements that they're paying in. We currently have a donation agreement in place or in the works with TxDOT right now and are working on our signal design and turn lane design. But it's been approved by the city and approved by TxDOT.
So what other infrastructure upgrades is being implemented?
So with our subdivision plans that we'll be starting once the prelim plat, we're able to start when the prelim plat is approved. The subdivision improvements will include public streets. We are extending an off-site wastewater to serve this property that has been mentioned will be commercial, townhome, multifamily, So we'll be extending offsite wastewater around the Carriage Hill subdivision through public utility easements to connect to the Carriage Hills lift station number 5. So we'll be having offsite wastewater. We'll be extending to serve this site. We'll also be connecting to the city of Manor's water line across 290. So we have subdivision plans that will be going in. That will be all the public improvements after this prelim plat reaches that approval point. We can then submit. At that point, the developer would have the ability to self-develop or potentially sell off lots and then develop their commercial sites, which would then have to adhere to Manor requirements for many other improvements. But so from a public standpoint, we have our TxDOT and City of Manor public improvements along 290, and then we'll be implementing public streets. So they will be public, fully accessible. They won't be private, the main streets for Carriage Hills and Viking Jack.
Well, have you met with the fire station to make sure that, there are fully like multiple access points for them to get into in case of an emergency?
Yeah. So our, I don't know if that's me. Our subdivision plans are required to go to Travis County ESD 12, where I believe they'll review our public streets to make sure they're in compliance with fire code, as well as our fire hydrant spacing, because our streets will then be putting in public water lines as well. So we will have to submit to them. I don't believe that's a prelim plat requirement, but our subdivision plans will have to have their approval and sign off before that can be constructed, and then all the individual site plans that would be within the site. So any sort of commercial use will have to go to the fire department as well. So as of now, we don't have any approvals from them, but it's not a prelim plat requirement. But when those construction plans are reviewed, they will have to go to the fire department.
How many entrances and exits on 290 will you have? Just one or multiple?
Right now, we will have one public entrance, so meaning public right of way. So Carriage Hills Drive will be the one public entrance. I don't know if you're able to flip to it, but the north east commercial tract, I think it's called Parcel 2, that northeast track will have a driveway. So there will be 2 driveways. One will be public. And then there will be 2, we'll then be connecting to the existing Carriage Hills Drive and then to the existing Viking Jack Street to the east.
And when you mean private, what do you mean? Just like you're going to have gated,
No,
your subdivision is going to be
no,
gated?
just meaning that it'll be publicly like owned by the city of Manor. It'll be typical to a normal, that previous one, if you wouldn't mind. It's a little closer. So what's on the screen right now, you can kind of see where Carriage Hills Drive is heading towards the top right of the sheet. So public meaning it's just publicly, it'll be constructed and then publicly owned by the city of Manor once it's accepted. Private just meaning that it'll be privately owned and maintained by the commercial property owners, which is typical for any sort of commercial development, whether it's a large box commercial or a small commercial retail. It just means that it's still publicly accessible. I mean, it's going to be commercial development, so they're going to be wanting and having people entering their site to come use their business. It just means that it's owned and maintained by that property owner, not owned and maintained by the city of Manor once it's fully accepted and past its 2-year warranty period. So there will ultimately be, to answer your question, Chairperson, there will ultimately be 2 connections to 290. For this preliminary plat, it just proposes one because preliminary plats detail and show any public right of way, public infrastructure, and then show the intent for future subdivision lots.
I believe the access to Viking Jack will also have access to 290 by way of Beltex, correct?
Yes, yeah, the Manor Commercial Park, I believe. Yeah, so Beltex is public as well, so it'll have a secondary access point, but I'm not sure there's a street light there. But it will have a driveway access to 290.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 8.
I second.
I have a motion to approve agenda item number 8 by Commissioner Myers, a second by Commissioner Leonard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on. Agenda item number 9. Considering discussion of impossible action on subdivision short form final plat for the Junction subdivision, 1 lot on 9.2 acres, more or less, and being located at the intersection of LaGrange Street and Murray Avenue, Manor, Texas.
This was the item where the public hearing was open and postponed. Apologies, the recommendation saw today's date on it because we didn't have a quorum last meeting, but it would be, if you're inclined, to postpone to January 10th.
Move to postpone action on the regular agenda item number 9 until January 10th meeting.
Second.
I have a motion to postpone agenda item number 9 by Commissioner Chavis, second by Commissioner Myers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, agenda item number 10. Consider discussion and possible action on a subdivision short form final plot for a Manor, 2 lots on 62.81 acres, more or less, and being located at the southwest corner of US Highway 290, Old Kimbrough Road, Manor, Texas.
I'd like to move that we approve item number 10.
I have a motion by Commissioner Myers. Do I have a second? I second. I have a second by Mr. Neela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Or nay.
Nay.
So it's two. So it passes, correct? Motion passes. Moving on, consideration. Sorry. Moving on to agenda item number 11, consideration and discussion and possible action items on subdivision short form final plat of Manor Commerce Southwest, 3 lots on 4.74 acres, more or less, and being located on the northwest corner of FM 973 and Ring Drive.
I move to approve agenda item number 11.
Second.
I have a motion to approve agenda item number 11 by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Chavis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, agenda item number 12. Consideration and discussion and possible action on final plat for the Manor Heights subdivision phase 4, section A, 205 lots on 93.503 acres, more or less, and being located near the intersection of Liberty Bell Boulevard and Jordan Sterling Street, Manor, Texas.
Sure. So this plat, we're past the part where we did the public hearings on these things. I can brief you if you'd like. This one, it has been approved by our engineers, so we're recommending approval. This one and the next one, they're both related. One's section A and one is section B, both part of phase 4. They are just primarily single family. There's some non-residential lots, which are not commercial, but medium density, which are townhome, parkland, and then open space and drainage lots. For this particular phase, section A, the parkland lot is actually a 12-acre park. There's an existing pond at that park as well.
Is there going to be a trail around the pond?
I believe so, yes. I think it's already in. The developers here, the representative.
Brad, we actually do have, is it Sarah? All right, go on, let's see.
Hi, Sarah Starkey, Kimley Horn. So there is a trail, and it actually is already constructed. It's concrete trail around the existing pond, and that was part of the subdivision improvements that got installed.
Is there any division improvements?
Yeah, so it's all single-family residential. So just streets, storm sewer, water, wastewater. There was part of previous phases. There was a wastewater extension that went through the existing Nagel Estates lots that are kind of to the east of this phase, and then kind of sit in between phases 3 in this phase. So just all subdivision improvements, and there's a collector road that runs through this phase, and you'll see that kind of right through the middle of the plat.
You have 3.2 acre city park.
That's 12-acre on this section. I believe it's the next section, section 4B, that has the 3-acre park.
Okay, we'll talk about it on next one.
Okay.
I move to approve agenda item number 12.
Oh, I had a quick question. Sorry. Sorry. It's okay. No, don't worry. So for the pond, is there going to be fishing in that pond?
Yes. So the developer has planned to stock that pond and amenitize the pond because it was just kind of old agricultural stock pond. So there was an old dock, got torn out. He's replacing it. And then they're also doing other amenities around it.
Okay. And do you have like some sort of visual representation of those other amenities around the pond, or an idea of what they're going to be? That would be helpful for us. I know we're like at the final area, but do you have anything like that?
So that's part of the landscape compliance. So I personally do not have those on file, but I can ask for those to be sent over.
Yeah, I think it'd just be good to see what's going to go there, because that's an area of town where there aren't a lot of parks there now. So it's great to see that they're building something like that for the folks out there. So it would just be good to see. Yeah.
I'm noticing that the lots are all very small. Is there no market for larger size lots?
So there is in the PUD that was previously approved, and I believe we came before P&Z and council a few months back with an amendment. It did not refer to the size of all of these lots, but the lot minimum is 6,500 square feet per the PUD. And so all of these meet that requirement. I believe that there's certain lot mix requirements since there's a PID on this entire project as well. There's certain lot mix requirements we're required to meet. And so that's part of this assessment. But these are, there's a good mix of 50 foots and 55 and 60 foot wide lots as part of this section. So to answer your question, that's kind of the general market that the developer is seeing out in that area and the home builders are seeing.
So what's the median price of those homes?
I don't know that I don't really have the answer personally.
Not sure. I mean, there's a couple builders out there now. I'm not sure what they're marketing them as. They're all 50 foot lots, which is the common lot size. And as Sarah mentioned, that's the PUD lays out the percentages between 50s and 60s and the range between. So it is a primarily 50 foot wide lot subdivision, like most subdivisions here in Manor are.
Are you doing any roadway improvements related to the project?
Yeah, so with this phase, we built the collector road, which it's labeled on here. You can kind of see it just running right through the middle. It's called Rosen Way. And so that was part of the, was that part of the, I think that was part of the PUD. It was lined out to be collector road, and then their old Kimbrough Road was extended, and a lot of improvements were done along there and then extended all the way up to the north part of the property. It just sits directly east of that collector road called Liberty Bell Boulevard.
We have any more questions?
I move to approve agenda item number 12.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Oren,
Oh,
Orion, and second by Commissioner Meyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 13. Consider discussion and possible action on final plat for Manor Heights subdivision phase 4, section B, 66 lots on 17.31 acres, more or less, and being located near the intersection of Liberty Bell Boulevard and Jordan Sterling Street, Manor, Texas. Mr. Scott, is this pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, so it's similar, a fewer lots than the last one. This one's 63 single family lots and 3 non-residential. And again, those non-residential aren't commercial. There's 1 parkland, an open space and drainage lot, and then 1 access PUE lot. And then this parkland, this is the one that has the 3-acre park in it.
Yeah, so would you be able to expound upon that? And I think the previous comment from Commissioner Leonard would still apply to this one of having the landscape plan visuals of that parkland.
Sure. So currently there's a large easement that runs through on that portion of the park. So we don't plan to, there's an existing pond as well. There aren't necessarily any amenities planned that I'm aware of at this time. I believe that that's one that's being dedicated and then they're building up. I can get an answer for you on that one. I'm not as clear as the other parkland lot, so I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah, so that'd be great. Provide a response to that. Yeah.
Understood.
I wanted to commend you on both of these for not tucking away the park behind homes where they can't be seen and criminals can't be observed, having them actually on a public thoroughfare uh, where more can be enjoyed. It's refreshing lately to uh, not see parks that are behind everything and not visible to the public.
Absolutely.
We have any more questions?
I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 13.
Second.
I have a motion to approve agenda item number 13 by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Chavis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item. Thank you, Sarah. Moving on to agenda item number 14, consideration and discussion and possible action on final plat for the Manor Commons Southeast Commercial Subdivision. 3 lots on 1.79 acres, more or less, and being located near the intersection of US Highway 290 and North FM 973. Mr. Scott.
Sure. So this is another 3-lot subdivision, part of the Manor Commons development. It's not obviously the same one that was considered earlier. This is on the east side of 973 on 290. They're platting right now, which is unplatted acreage, into like 2 pad sites and then a kind of a larger tract behind those 2. If you're familiar with the senior living facility that's there, that 3-story apartment, these lots are right near that, right at the entrance to those. Again, nothing's been filed to be constructed on these, but they're 3 commercial lots.
Is this going to be what I guess we can see now is the car wash?
That is actually on the other side of the driveway.
Okay.
So if you're looking at the exhibit, the 3 lots are kind of bold outlines. Then there's one other tract that's a lot 11, block A. That's the car wash.
Will Lot 8A have access to the driveway to the east of Lot 10?
I believe it could. I know on the concept plan within the PUD, it shows that access road that right now is really just where like behind Dairy Queen and like over the Holiday Inn. It actually goes around. They left the space between 290 and where the sidewalk is on Timberman Park for it to go through. But access connection wise, it's not the same as residential. So even if they did just have one point of access that came off 290, that's usually sufficient. But I do believe the developer is planning to continue that access road around to connect from Ring Road over to the drive where the senior apartments are.
Would it be gated? Like I know the senior village is gated. Would this be gated separately?
I haven't heard anything regarding that. I mean, these should be commercial pad sites, so they're going to want as much access to customers as possible.
Are they going to be able to do some? I guess what I'm looking at is that road that's coming off of 973 that people are coming down 290 trying to get into that second lane as fast as they can? Are they going to be able to infrastructure that road so that way we don't have no more collisions right there at that?
So TxDOT has plans. They're unfortunately not immediate. To continue that third lane, I believe that you're talking about, like right when you get through the intersection, it drops down. Yeah, so similar to, or exactly the same as how they stripe the shoulder, heading in towards Austin to make a third lane, and to that point, they're going to carry that further down. I don't know how far, but it's supposed to be further down. But they're doing it unless they bump it up. But when I talked to them relatively recently, they have funding, and it was through like safety mitigation funding, to put the right turn lanes back at Shadowgun Boulevard and Lexington. And I think they're extending the right turn lane on 973, all heading westbound. And when they're doing that project, I think that's when they said they were going to do the restriping. But with the issue, the timing of it is not going to be satisfying because they have to have it done by August of 2026 because of that round of funding that they received. That's when it has to be done by. And that right turn lane at 299.73, extending it, because there's floodplain there and there's bridge, there's Clomer work, like fill work they have to do. And that requires filing with the federal government and additional approvals. So in their priority list, it's towards the end of that funding cycle of doing it. So they said 2026. So again, I know it's not satisfying, but they do have plans to do it.
It's better than no plans.
You have any more questions?
Does this connect in with HT Fitness, or is this like before that?
It's a ways before that. There's another 10-acre tract in between that, and then CubeSmart, and then HT. And the car wash that's going in right now too.
I'll move to approve the item number 14.
Second. I have a motion to approve agenda item number 14 by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Neela. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 15, consider discussion and possible action on amendment to the Shadow Glen Medical Tower coordinate site plan.
Sure. So this a coordinated site plan or sign plan, is required when you have multiple tenants in one building, or if you have multiple buildings on a property. And so this property has had one for a while. It's been amended a couple times, with the last time being in July of 2021. With this amendment, they're looking to add one sign face area to their north elevation. The sign standards don't change, with a maximum 3-foot height of the sign and 16 feet in length. They're just adding an additional sign face because we are strict in following what the coordinated sign plan say. And if it doesn't show a sign can be put there, we won't give a permit for one. So.
I move that we approve item number 15.
I second.
I have a motion to approve agenda item number 15 by Commissioner Mayer, second by Commissioner Leonard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to agenda item number 16, considering discussion of possible action on the 2024 subdivision calendar.
Sure. So this item is necessary for compliance essentially with state law. The state prescribes certain deadlines for actions to be taken on subdivision submittals if they follow standard process. We have a couple, like an alternate process and other things they can follow, but if a developer, subdivider, property owner wants to follow standard review processes, this calendar provides them the dates they can submit, the dates we would provide them reviews, and the dates that you as the commission, as a municipal authority, would take action, or the city council if they're the municipal authority. And it just outlines the entire year so we know and the developers know when actions can occur.
Is this an opportunity to I know commissioners when we get to that June July area, it's summertime and we do take that vacation. I know it's too early to plan, but I know in that, what was it, June, July, and August, that kind of hurt us that we missed a couple meetings back to back. But I know that we have now two great alternates. Is this a time we can consider maybe looking at the dates and if we need to change one or something?
Also, Valentine's Day being one of the days might, that's what Prince was saying, we might, maybe, I don't celebrate it, but I think.
I can agree on that one because I actually will not be here that day. Can we move it to Monday?
I think we can. But this is the thing. This is the subdivision calendar. I think we also should have the P&Z calendar that's outside of this, because this is more so for like submittals, things like that for applicants. But you know, our commission having a calendar, strategic calendar, times that we're meeting with the council, other committees or commissions, you know, having a strategic plan throughout the year. It's maybe not in this this particular meeting, but for sure want to add that as an agenda item for January so that we can plan accordingly.
Yeah, we can bring it up to the council to see if to kind of schedule joint workshops, and we'd have to determine, you know, agendas for those meetings and what would need to be discussed.
Maybe like once a quarter, just so that we can ensure that we're knowing things like what they're doing. We've done it before, you know, but I think on a cadence, it would be good so they can kind of, you know, hear us. If there are things that we're wondering about, they can, you know, vice versa kind of thing.
Sure. We can definitely have a discussion with council, see if they can schedule quarterly joint meetings to, I guess they can be, I'll take it with the city manager and city secretary and mayor and see how those agendas would be laid out, how open-ended they can be. They usually have to be relatively specific, but yeah.
Or even like joint committees, you know, because I know they have a lot of committees and some of our people are in committees with them. And if there was like a readout maybe of committees so that we, you know, more of our people could know kind of what's going on in there.
Yeah, I do know they are doing more council or committee reports. Those council committees are having to report now because of or in part because of the pace scale that city council approved. They can receive, you know, additional pay based on committee meetings and additional obligations that they attend, but part of that is reporting what the committees do back to the council more efficiently and regularly. So, but yeah, this is definitely a discussion we can take as a recommendation to the council to have more joint workshops.
Yeah, for sure. So, at least for this particular item, personally, I know Vice Chair, you said you want on the 14th. Um, yeah, I won't be either. So 15th, I mean, would be okay with me to move and have that discussion on the dais there.
Or the 13th would be nice, if possible. I have like standing commitments on Thursdays.
13 would work better for me.
You said it would?
Would.
I don't know, that may not work for me because I usually go on the 13th to avoid the crowds on the 14th.
Well, you could go on Monday and really avoid the crowds. I mean, can we postpone this to January when Scott, you come back with that other calendar, or does this need to be really pushed today?
It needs to go today just because
Okay.
it sets the calendar for
Right.
actions starting January.
So
But
that first application completeness check, is that affect our meeting in any particular applications that would turn into agenda items?
That would be for ones that were submitted this month. Yeah, you get into the 10-day submittal period, and then the 16th is that application completeness check. So yeah, like the second is when people can, if they were under standard review, they would be able to start submitting applications.
Okay, I was talking about the 13th of February.
Oh, my apologies. Sorry. So what was the question then on the first application?
Yes, would our meeting on that day, would that affect any potential items coming forward, being that would be the application check date?
Yeah, the calendar would have to be readjusted because there's specific days. So like it's a 10-day resubmittal period. Our engineers, they have 30 calendar days to review things on a first submittal, 15 calendar days on a second submittal. So if you move P&Z, it shifts everything going back all the way through our pre-submittal meetings, which we do a week before submittals. So each date you changes like 2 months worth of this calendar, which is fine. If you were to have days you wanted to move, you could just make that motion and then just direct staff to update the calendar as necessary.
I mean, I think going this past year, I think if we have to move a date so that way that we have a quorum, even having our our alternates, I think that would help us benefiting that poor Miss Mandy's not standing at the door praying that we show up.
You said it affects 2 months worth of dates. Is it the same if we move it back as if we move it forward? Because I know they were trying to have it earlier on the 13th, but is it the same if we pushed it back?
Yeah, it's the same just because of it's always 10 days or 15 days or 30 days, business days or calendar days. So those are set timelines. So, and it's always based off the P&Z date because that's when the municipal authority has to take action. So if that date changes, then all of the submittal dates change.
Since there's the 10th of January and the 14th of February, there's more than 30 days there. Does that still give you wiggle room so that if we move it by one day, it's not going to hurt anything?
We would have to evaluate it and just look. I mean, this calendar takes about 5 tries to go through because stuff. That's why if you wanted to set a P&Z date on a specific day, with the motion, you would just direct us to update the calendar as necessary, and we'll go in and move all those submittal dates. So you don't have to do that tonight. We could just say, hey, February's P&Z should be on the 13th. Go fix the calendar.
That's what I would vote. So I guess I make a motion to change the February date from the 14th to the 13th for the 2024 calendar.
I could second that.
I have a motion on agenda item number 16 to go ahead and move the 13th of February or the 14th of February to the 13th and approve the calendar by Commissioner Leonard, a second by Commissioner Myers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. All right. Moving on to agenda item number 17. Consider and discussion and possible action on a food court establishment on 13538 North FM 973. And we do have Mr. Danny and Ms. Dwyer here in support of it. We have any questions?
Yes. Question. Stated that it was purposes was there for an interim period of time. So what's that definition of interim, and then what's the long term plan for that commercial plot?
Mr. Danny, I think.
Howdy and good evening. My name is Danny Burnett. I'm the development coordinator for Dwyer Realty Companies. And I apologize, it's been a while since I've actually been to a commission meeting, and it's great to see new faces up here. The site has been, it's part of a Shadow Glen master land plan. The city of Manor and our office have a development agreement. It's a commercial intent use. And you may recall that at one time Compass Rose had their interim facility there. That's why you'll see the water quality, the detention pond, the parking, and the pad that we're going to take advantage of. We will be responsive to market conditions. We'd like to keep the food court there for a couple years. Let's say it's 5-6 years. However, if Ms. Orion were to come into our office tomorrow and say, I've got an investor and they're going to come in and want to buy, then we obviously would move with the market conditions to place an appropriate commercial use on that site. What we're trying to do is take advantage of the infrastructure that's there now. There's parking, there's water, there's wastewater stubbed up, there's electric. Our intent is, my boss has this crazy habit. He goes to Firestone and he strikes up conversations with people in the waiting room, and he finds these in-use vendors that are interested in food courts and our food trailers, and that's how this started.
And would it just be the food trucks coming in, or would there be amenities there, or how would that?
Good question. There'll be benches, shade structures, and we'll there'll be portable bathroom facilities. And what we ultimately want to grow into, hopefully if it gets legs, has enough activity, that we've looked into either renting or acquiring what you call a comfort station, which is basically air conditioned, water, plumbed bathroom facilities that could be available for our guests.
So right down the street is going to be HEB and the big, all the big, Chili's, and I think there's like a bunch of different restaurants going in, not that far away from this. So I love a food court, but the concern I would have is that for the amount of traffic that it would generate on 973, which is probably one of the more brutal areas in the mornings, to add to that when there's already going to be food options pretty close. I would say there's better spots in Manor that would benefit from this than being so, putting little mom and pop places so close to like bigger chains to get like eaten up.
Sure, I respectfully disagree. We have a history. We have run TIAs in the background, so we can prove what the commercial use was intended before HEB even came into the picture. However, we assumed large build outs, so the traffic that would be generated would be less than what the ultimate commercial use would be on the site. Also, we think that the food vendors that we're looking at bringing to the site would be able to service the local communities without requiring people to get further on the 973 and head down to 290. They'll be able to access within the Shadowglen, off of Shadowglen Trace inside of the community. So it's one of those kind of really tricky, the tip of the spear. You want to get people out, but at the same time, you want to have that connectivity so people don't have to get out. And that's what we're trying to get to.
Because if correct, there's no entrance off of 973 for this, correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir. It's off of Shadowglen Trace.
I have a question about timeline.
Sure.
It would seem that food trucks are probably moving quicker than some of the bigger box stores that are coming in, but what is the expected time frame?
We're as soon as we can come to an agreement with this additional use to be added to, Scott, I guess it's to the development agreement. Would it be to add the food court use to the development agreement, or is it just to allow us?
Yes, the development agreement, just as the commission and council can approve similar uses. So
right,
that's what we're doing tonight.
Okay.
And so there wouldn't need to be an amendment.
So we with that we can move quickly. We're already reaching out to Crossroad Utilities, who is the utility provider within the municipal utility district that services Shadowglen, having meters set for our water service and our wastewater, and because we're actually we'll ultimately plumb for the wastewater, and then we'll work with BEC to get meters set on the existing meter racks. And then, like I was telling you, my boss, he is a salesman. He really is. And he has a couple of vendors lined out right now to bring in food trailers.
Because this, I mean, like you said, the spot's already there.
Yes, sir. That's correct. Yes, you can kind of see in that image there. It's got a caliche base. That's where the old Compass Rose building was, and you can see the little white rectangles. That's where a representative of the actual food trailers that we would set. And then you see the little picnic tables that would be on site, and then the little green box that's over to the left, and that little hammerhead of the drive. That's where we would have the restroom facility.
So I do have one question.
Sure.
Because knowing that Compass Rose was set there, and one of the hiccups they had is, so if this does like Mr. Dwyer thinks it is, you got enough parking?
Right. That's a good question. I don't think that we're going to have that type of overload parking in our area. I think it's going to be the transient. It's going to be moms and kids, coming in on a stroller and their bikes and riding in and getting a taco. Or I do think that there'll be vendors they'll be servicing contractors that are going to come in and out, during the lunch periods. That corner there, that little Chevron gas station, the little taqueria inside, they do a booming business. And then Grazie Pizza that's over in those studios, they do a good business as well. So I think there'll be enough parking to support what we're proposing. And it's better than any of the other, I would say, food courts that are in the city of Manor. I mean, it's paved, improved facilities.
If I may, real quick, in our code, we did add a parking requirement for food trucks, and it's 3 per truck. So I'm pretty sure if you have 6 trucks, that's 18 spaces. I'm sure
that's
that
correct.
parking lot has more than 18. So.
It does.
And you said there is a paved sidewalk to get.
There is, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, you can, because the facility was ADA compliant for Compass Rose. It actually has a sidewalk up to the facility, and then we'll transition in with we'll bring in the flex base and a decomposed granite to finish out the surfaces.
I live in Shadowglen, and I recall the Compass Rose school being
Oh,
there.
yes, sir.
And the fact is that it's, paved, and it is a good temporary use of the property. My only concern would be that to limit to 5 trailers, you got one extra that'd be close to the bathroom facility,
Right.
and also that the comfort station be used rather than porta toilets.
Yes, sir. I think our concern is we honestly don't know how successful we're going to be. We set the bar high, which is typical for a developer, to see if we can get 6. It may be that we only get 4, or it may be 5. And then also, because we don't know what the success level is, the investment for a comfort station is considerable. So we're asking for a temporary grace period, and we've talked with the city to ask for about 6 months to get us up and going where we can use porta potties. And then if we're experiencing the success that we think we will, then we'll know if it's going to be 5 or 6 units. And at that time, then we'll know if we're going to need to invest in that comfort station. Or you may be right, man. People may say, you know what, this isn't the spot. It's not going to work out. And that's okay. That our whole point is that we have land assets, those 3 commercial lots. We have one it's sitting there, and it may be a prime use to service our residents.
I just didn't want to get a long-term.
Oh no, sir! I can tell you for sure that it won't be, because the food trailers won't generate the income that we ultimately will have for that site. That site will ultimately sell for something like on the line of $20 to $25 a square foot, which is quite a bit of money on. That's a 2-acre commercial site. So, and my boss we are a for-profit entity, and so we will try to make the most where we can, how we can.
Anyway, I'd be comfortable with 5 and limited 6 months on the
Sure.
ends.
Can we say this? How about we say, if I would agree to 5 and it comes to be a success, could I have the opportunity to bring tacos back and we can talk about it going to that 6th one if it works? I'll agree to 5, and if we're doing good, we'll talk about it, see if it works.
We have any other questions for Mr. Danny?
I follow a motion to approve agenda item number 17.
Did you want to? Sorry, if you were going to, but any of the recommendations from Commissioner Meyer, or any of your own, or anything?
So we can add recommendations of this nature into the motion because this is a discretionary item. Is that true?
There is, yes. So if I may as well too. So the reason this is before you is because of the development agreement, and so in your backup, you see the list of permitted uses within the commercial areas of Shadow Glen, and there's one like subsection KK, which is anything that's similar in use can be approved by the commissioner council, and you'll see some of those uses may not be as compatible with already permitted, because the agreement just says like it has to be one of these to be permitted, otherwise it requires this additional step. So there's stuff in there like wood yards and auto sales and other types of uses that our code now, if there's in the city, may not necessarily work together, but the agreement is what it is, and so we were recommending as staff and that this was similar and appropriate, but yes, there is discretion in the recommendation that you can forward onto the city council in terms of the number of units, the amenities, as Mr. Bernays talked about. The porta potties are transitioning to comfort stations, and the time frame, and how they locate the food trucks on the property. So obviously they show them in the gravel area, I'm not sure if there's other areas on the property they could fit. I mean, I think
Right.
all the detention and water quality there.
Yeah, it's pretty much
Um,
there.
But yes, you can make certain accommodations that the city council can consider next week when they hear this item.
I make the motion that we approve item number 17 with provision of limited to 5 units and a 6-month maximum on porticans. Within 6 months going to the comfort station.
Comfort station. Yes, sir.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Meyer, a second by Commissioner Chavis for approving agenda item number 7 with 5 units and the 6 months on the porta potties. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And y'all have been awesome tonight. I sat and listened. Y'all did a great job.
Thank you, guys. All right, moving on to agenda item number 18, consider discussion and possible action on setback waiver for lot 6, block 34, local, known as 505 Jesse Street, to reduce to rear setback to 10 feet and set aside and the side setback to 5 feet.
Sure. So these setback waivers are fairly routine. I believe some of y'all have seen them. They do allow help to allow a property owner to construct a home on the smaller lots here in town, because most of the lots here in town are 50 by 115, which is a little bit smaller. It's 5,750 square feet, so it's a little bit smaller than your standard subdivision lot. But our codes, they don't. The development standards for a house here in the older part of town is pretty similar to outside of the older part of town, and so to help accommodate that and still have the same type of house here in town, these setback waivers are allowed to be requested through our code, so they can still fit the appropriate size home with the the 2-car enclosed garage and the 100 square foot covered or uncovered rear patio and not exceed 40% lot coverage. And as you can see, there's an outline of the property, and then they do have a building permit in, and so you can see their plot plan. And I did, there is a house next door, and the distance between the existing home and the new home, I think is, if I can find it, a little over 6 feet. 12.8 feet is the building separation between the existing home and the proposed home, which is more than actually in most of our subdivisions, because most of the subdivisions have 5-foot setbacks and they end up building right up to it, so you get 10 feet.
So correct. They plan to put a home there. Is that correct?
Yes. With the approval of this setback waiver.
Does the existing house next door have the same setbacks?
They do. I believe they also got a setback waiver, or they may have developed prior to our side setbacks going from 5 to 7.5. I can't recall off the top of my head when that home was constructed, but they're not exactly at their 5-foot setback line. I think they're the ones that are like 6 feet off of it. So there's a little extra foot in there from them. I remember right, yeah. Yeah, the construction home is 6.9 feet from their property line.
I vote that we approve agenda item number 18.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve agenda item 18 by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Meyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 19, consideration and discussion and possible action on a joint lot affidavit lot for lot 1 through 5, block 12, town of Manor, local known as 800 North Lexington Street.
Sure. So this joint lot affidavit is also has these type of things have come before the commission before too. This for the purposes of building permits, like site development permits and building permits, we at the city we would consider it one lot. So right now it's 5 legal lots, and so there are interior side setbacks between each of those lots. So the existing home was built before these types of considerations, so it's built across multiple lot lines. But now with the current regulations, the property owner, in order to develop the property in any form, they would either need this joint lot affidavit, which we have in our code. It doesn't cost them anything; it's free to file, and it gets recorded in the public record, so it, in a sense, becomes legal. But the legal description is still 5 lots. And so for a lot of developments that qualify, they'll file these rather than replatting the property, because that is their other option. And that usually takes about 3 to 4 months and costs, in just city fees, about $1,600. But they'd have to have surveyors or engineers put those plots together. So this option as a joint lot affidavit is a free and fast option that we provide to help with development here in the older part of the city. So again, for us, we would consider it one lot in terms of looking at their setbacks, versus so they would remove all of their interior setbacks, so then they can develop the property. This is the one that Ms. Cape-Orthers spoke about at the top of the meeting. They haven't filed anything yet. This is one that's planned to be the funeral home. It's own neighborhood business, and so that is a permitted use. And so I haven't seen, a site plan filed on that. I believe the intention would be to have the adequate parking, in that large area behind the home, and they would renovate the home to the necessary standards that they need to in order to occupy. And so again, this affidavit just allows them to file those and have those site plans approved. Otherwise, they'd have to go through a formal plat process to combine the lots.
So they already know they want to turn that into a funeral home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where is this? Like this?
Oh,
Is,
my
so
apologies.
the map is
Next to Blue Bonnet Electric.
Correct. Yeah, that
okay.
building, that's
Okay,
where
so
brings
that's
Blue Bonnet.
Bonnet. This thing is Blue Bonnet here, right next to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, Lexington, and then there's the paved alley between Blue Bonnet and Lane, and Burnett is running north-south.
Is this on the side that leads to? Is this like on the side that has the back way into Riata Ford, or is this on the other side of Lexington?
This is on the east side of Lexington. Let me 1 second. I can answer that question for you. Yes. So Lane, the street not on the Blue Bonnet side that runs east-west, that's the one that keeps going and then goes into the back of Riata. Mm-hmm.
So what is the lots currently zoned as?
It's zoned as neighborhood business, which permits commercial uses as well as residential, but the residential is only permitted secondary to a commercial. So you have to have a commercial use in order to have a residential use. And so that residential use can either be, like behind a store. It's all in one building. So you can have like a storefront and then, a residence behind, or you can have ground floor retail and residential above. So right now there's a single family home. The city, we call it the Brown House. The city actually used to lease that space many years ago. But it is just a single family home, but it's not occupied. They've been trying to lease it out for a while, but because it didn't have sufficient parking and the structure wasn't, updated to commercial standards, it's like ADA access. We haven't given them certificates of occupancy to have any substantial business in there. So there was a daycare that tried to locate in there, and then an architect wanted to locate in there. And now there's this funeral home, and they seem willing to do the necessary site improvements that code requires to obtain a certificate of occupancy and use the property.
And I mean, I guess a commercial use, it doesn't matter what kind of business are they willing. Would they have to require to get special permits for being a funeral home due to the whatever has to go on?
Not from the city. Neighborhood business is our most restrictive commercial zoning, but one of the uses it does permit is funeral services. Cremation is not permitted. It is really just as a proposing sort of visitation and services. But yes, they wouldn't need any additional permits from the city. It would be an administrative process.
Is the Bobby Gosi here? Or,
No, he is the property owner. So
I think it would be good to see kind of what they're gonna, because obviously, like, I don't think Manor has any other funeral homes in there.
not that I'm aware of. No.
So it could get a lot of people, like for services, kind of like a church. You could, if there was somebody who maybe had a lot of family or a lot of people attending, the parking could be a lot in certain cases.
Potentially. So we do have a parking standard. I can look it up here if you were to give me a minute. Sorry, I don't have it off the top of my head. For funeral services, that would set their minimum amount of parking. We do have a maximum, so they wouldn't be able to exceed 150% of that without variances to be told to have more parking, or if they wanted more parking. That hasn't been discussed. I mean, we haven't had pre-development meetings or anything regarding their site development. They've been provided our regulations, but nothing's been submitted yet.
Because I think, like Commissioner Leonard saying, if you get somebody that has a pretty big family, do they know that they cannot park in Bluebonnet's electric, building during the day, and being able to park in front of neighbors' homes? I think that would be in consideration too. And then two, we all know Lexington Road is not the biggest road, so to be able to do that also.
So Bluebonnet, they control their property. They can post signs and tow cars if they needed to, and then if it were a problem, the city council could, approve through ordinance, no parking. I looked it up while you were providing that, and funeral home It's one parking space per 150 gross floor or gross feet of area. I believe the house is about 1,850 square feet, which gets you 13 parking spaces. And so, their maximum would be 19. It's a small house. I mean, 1,850 is good for a house, but small as a funeral home. So their maximum amount of parking, by my quick calculations and my memory, I think is only about 19 spaces. So that's really what by code they'd be limited to.
I think if we had another one somewhere else, that was like in the more commercial area on the other side, Lexington, like near the church or, near Casa G's or somewhere, like that, where there could be a lot more room. But the roads in Old Manor are small, like they're one lane each at best, really. So it's a daycare is like, okay, a daycare, they're not going to have a big event, maybe not really at a daycare, but a funeral and it being the only one in the whole town is kind of like, it should probably be somewhere bigger is my gut feeling.
I would be inclined to agree. I'm also thinking about, I don't know how many, not move on, but like residential homes are right there. Only because I can imagine, there's nothing wrong with a funeral home business, but if it was like popped up across the street from me. Oh, if it popped up across the street from me, oh, perfect. Do we think we're gonna get any backlash from residents that actually live right there and may not want to live across the street from a funeral home?
We had a public comment at the beginning of the meeting in regards to that. It'd be good to have the applicant here to be able to answer questions and follow up on any other public comments that would have before just approving this kind of quick, no cost process.
Right, because I think I do agree with the commissioners. Is you're talking about 19 parking spots. I'm sorry, but I can tell you, my family alone, my immediate family is 89 people. So, yeah, there's a lot of families that we have here. Even like Miss Forsyth, 19 cars wouldn't subside for her. And I agree with Commissioner Chairs. Maybe we get the gentleman here and see, maybe he has a different outlook on it for us.
Y'all are free to postpone this to the January 10th meeting, and we can reach out. And the property owner is not the one developing it. It is, I believe, the funeral home operator. Again, I haven't had any meetings with them, so I've just actually heard that that's the intent of the process.
So I guess we need a motion. So I'll move to postpone agenda item number 19 until the January meeting and request that someone, applicant or developer, if possible, come and talk to us to answer maybe any questions that we have.
I second that.
I have a motion from Commissioner Leonard to postpone to January 19th with the owner and maybe applicant come in and speak to us, and a second by Commissioner Neela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:08?
I move to adjourn.
I second.